Starting. Yay, we're live. All right. So, welcome to the Confusion Breakup Wound Talk. All right, so we're going to be talking about the confusion breakup wound today. All week, we're talking about each of the 5 breakup wounds. Yesterday, we talked about the anger breakup wound, so you can scroll back and find that. Or if you're not on my mailing list, then you can just let us know, and we'll make sure that you get the little email notifications, because we're emailing it out to everyone so that everybody knows whenever we do one of these videos, so that not only do you get the live notification in the group so you can join live, but you can also get an email reminder about it if you would like also. So today, yesterday we talked about the anger breakup wound. Today we're talking about the confusion breakup wound. The confusion breakup wound is one of the most insidious breakup wounds because it leads to tons of obsessive thoughts. And it makes it really difficult for you to be able to move on because you feel this deep need to understand what happened. And so you're spending a lot of time and energy trying to understand what happened. There are 2 reasons for that. Hi, Pam, and I'm glad that you're safe. I saw that you marked yourself safe. So that is good and a relief. And welcome everybody who's watching. Please let me know that you're watching. Let me know where you're watching from. And just type in the comments so that I can say hi and greet you as you're coming in. So, we're talking about the confusion breakup wound. And there are 2 reasons that the confusion breakup wound comes with this really intense desire to understand. We usually want to understand. Hi, Rebecca. Hi, love. We want to understand either because we have a really deep need for control, or we want to understand, because we are trying to keep whatever we think happened before from happening again. We want to understand because we're like, if I did something wrong, if there was a red flag I missed, whatever it was, I need to study the situation so that I can keep this from ever happening again. That's what we think is going to happen. Hi, Angela. Welcome. Hello in Georgia. So those are 2 of the really big reasons why this is such a powerful kind of a breakup wound that we need to heal. We usually are really we need that control. We need to understand what happened so that we can feel that we are in control of the situation, so that we can feel that even if the relationship ended, we understand, so now we won't make the same mistakes. Or we feel like we need to understand because we want to maybe assign blame. We want to figure out whose fault it was so that we can move forward from that. So there are 2 really big reasons. So the confusion breakup wound. There are a couple things I'm going to talk about today with the confusion breakup wound. First, I'm going to talk about who is the most likely to have this kind of a breakup wound. I'm going to talk about how you know if you have it. And I'm going to talk about a really special situation because it seems to me that if you are an empath or you are sensitive to other people's energies, you are more likely than a lot of other people to have this confusion breakup wound. It's not as much a feature of I've had some people say, oh yeah, certain astrological signs are more prone to certain things. This isn't really something that falls under that category as much. It's more something that is like a sensitivity to energy. So it's not really your star sign or anything like that that has to do with this. This is your sensitivity to energy. So if you are, for example, an empath, you may have a lot more you have a much higher chance of having this breakup wound and having it be really a source of a lot of stress and dismay and just really slowing you down from being able to move forward to what you want to have in your love life, because you think that you have to understand this to move forward. And I'll explain in a little bit why empaths are more likely to have this breakup wound in just a minute. And the thing that I want you to understand about all 5 of these breakup wounds is that you can have one of them, you can have 2 of them, you can have all 5 of them. And a lot of times, it isn't until you actually dig into what that breakup wound means that you realize, oh my gosh, I have that. I was just talking with someone this morning who was a client of mine who was talking about how she listened to the video about the anger breakup wound, and she really didn't think that was an issue for her. And she discovered through doing some muscle testing and figuring, which is something that I do one-on-one with my clients to figure out where some stuck points are for them. She discovered through doing some muscle testing that she actually did still have some anger to resolve about her exes. And this is a very self-aware person. So just know that it is very possible that you could believe that you have done some work and in a certain area. Like you can say, oh, I'm pretty sure I've figured out what's going on. I don't have this confusion wound. Or I'm pretty sure that I'm not angry at this person anymore. I don't have this anger wound. And then when you actually listen to what it's about and kind of dig into it a little bit, you might find that you really do have something there. And if there is something there, that's great. That's a wonderful discovery. Celebrate that, because that means that you now have the opportunity to move through that, clear it out for good, and to get to move into the future that you really deserve to have and that is really possible for you. So those are the things we're going to talk about today. Who this is for, how to know if you have this, a special kind of situation that happens with empaths who often have this. We're going to talk about what you think you want and what you actually want in this situation. We're going to talk a little bit about closure, and we're also going to talk about the two big things that are going to help you move past this. One is emotionally, spiritually, the other one is mentally, so it's a little bit different. If you were able to watch about the anger breakup wound, I would love to hear from you. I'd love to hear what you thought and what new kind of insights came to you. I'd love to hear what your plan is, which one of the suggestions you're going to use to move forward and heal that breakup wound. I would just love to hear back from you. So let me know how you're thinking and how you're feeling now that you've had a chance to get a little bit more of that information. All right, loves. So here we go. I'm going to open up Facebook so we can see if anybody is in there in the group asking any questions or needing to know anything. Okay. Oh. Look, it looks like somebody... Okay, cool. So here we go. So, the confusion breakup wound. Big deal. One of the things about the confusion breakup wound that is so hard, hi Margaret, that is so difficult to deal with is that often you feel like you really just want to get answers from... You want to get answers about what happened, but the person who you need the answers from is the person who just broke your heart. And so you're not getting anywhere there, right? It's like you really, really want to know what happened, understand what happened so that you can move forward, but this person's not really giving you any information. If your ex ghosted on you, you may have the confusion breakup wound, especially if you had been together for a while. If your ex never gave you any real answers, if you always kind of suspected that he was not telling you the truth about what's going on, or he didn't tell you anything and just disappeared, you could be dealing with this confusion breakup wound. If he keeps coming back but not committing to you, then you're definitely dealing with this confusion breakup wound. If his actions and his words don't match, and you're spending a lot of time trying to figure out why that is, then you could be dealing with this confusion breakup wound. How you actually know if you have this, if you spend a lot of your time and energy trying to understand, because trying to understand is the hallmark of this confusion breakup wound. It's like if you're constantly thinking to yourself, and it doesn't even need to be constantly, but it can be like if the breakup was years ago, but still pops into your head of like, I still can't understand why, blah, 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 blah. If you say that to yourself often, I still can't understand why XYZ, and the breakup was like a year ago or more than a year ago, then the confusion breakup wound is something that you're dealing with right now. It's kind of weird and dark down here, but I wonder if that's just because that's where the words are. Okay, so hopefully it's not too weird and dark for you guys. I'm talking about lighting-wise, not like mood-wise. I hope mood-wise it doesn't get too weird and dark. Okay, so that's the first way. If you're spending a lot, the first way that you can know if you have the confusion breakup wound is if you're spending a lot of time and energy trying to understand what's going on. Okay, cool. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you. You're like the friend who would tell me if I had spinach stuck in my teeth. Thank you. That's love right there. Okay. The second way that you can know if you have the confusion breakup wound is, do you replay what happened over and over again in your head? Do you ask friends for their opinion about it? Do you follow lots of different love gurus, quote unquote love gurus who are relationship people who are trying to explain what's going on and how men think and how women think, blah, blah, blah. And you followed all that stuff and you still are just as confused about what happened in your past relationship as you were when you first started trying to understand it. That can also tell you that you're suffering from this confusion breakup wound, because it's like you don't have peace about it. You don't have peace of mind about it. And that's a really big deal, because if you don't have peace of mind, you're like, you're just in this you're in this mental turmoil whenever it comes up. And like, this could be something that you are still suffering from or struggling with from a relationship that ended years ago. It could be 5 years ago, 5 days ago. It could be, it doesn't really make a difference. But it's really important to understand, if that's what's going on for you, you can heal that. You really can heal and work through that. And it will just take a commitment to doing the work that you need to do to be able to move forward. But you just get to a point where you're just so sick of the thoughts. You're so sick of having these thoughts come into your mind without you trying to think about them. It's like they have a life of their own, you get so tired of that you're ready to like move forward and to do whatever you need to do. So if you're watching this, you're probably at that point now where you're just like, I just want to stop thinking about this and move on. So before we move into the, why you might be doing this, why you might be going through this, I want to read you some quotes from some women who are dealing with this confusion breakup wound, because it might help you understand if that's you or not. If you really relate to that quote, it might help you understand if that's you or not. So one of the women who talked to me about this and had the confusion breakup wound said, I don't know why he never chose me or appreciated me. And you can tell that this is a thought that was like in her mind a lot. She worried that a lot. Why didn't he ever choose me? What was it about me that made him choose someone else, or that made him not commit to me? Why wasn't I good enough is kind of like how that goes. And then the next person says almost the same thing. The worst part about the breakup was wondering why I wasn't enough. Someone else says, and she's describing this on again, off again situation that she had been in for a while. She says, he opens up, he gets vulnerable, he tells me stuff he never shared with anyone else, but then it's like he gets too close and he has to bail. I've done this dance for a year now and I cannot take it anymore. So those are things that women say when this is something that they've been through a lot. And a few other things that women say, they say, I don't know, we already said that, I don't know why he never chose me or appreciate me. They wonder a lot about the woman who he ended up with. What does she have that I don't have? What was it about her that made him choose her when he didn't commit to me? Sometimes what happens is they end up in this weird cycle. Women will end up in this weird cycle where they'll date someone and he completely disappoints them, and then the very next person that he ends up with, the very next person that he dates, he marries or makes a commitment to. And so women will get into this confusion breakup wound because they're like, why does this keep happening to me? What is it about me that makes it so men don't commit to me? Why am I not the one that they commit to? So sometimes that's the thing that can happen there too. A thought rather that goes in. It's like, why is it that every single time they're with me, it's almost like what I've seen happen, and it's weird. So I'm going to explain it as best as I can to help you understand that scenario and why it happens in energy a lot of the time. Usually what's happening in energy when I see that situation is that there's a woman who is really evolving at a fast pace. She is moving forward. She is like clearing out stuff she doesn't need to have in her life anymore. She is aiming really big for high goals, and she's stretching and she's growing and she's moving into this big thriving kind of a life. And she is choosing a man who is not a partner there. He's not quite there. He is someone who needs like a leg up, kind of. And she's either trying to rescue him or she's trying to save him or whatever it is. And he kind of is able to sort of coast in her great, high, positive, strong energy for a while. And then, but he's not quite on board. He's not taking the initiative. He's not an equal partner to her. He's almost kind of there, but he's not really there. So he's really coasting along on her momentum. And then usually what happens is she will get tired of that and she'll be like, I'm not doing this anymore, and break it off. And then what happens is he will meet someone who's more on his level, who he doesn't have to like run so fast to keep up with. And then he will be with that person. No disrespect to the person that he ended up with. You know, I'm just saying that that's usually what I've seen happen, is that he can't, you know, he needs to seek his level. And it was usually the woman who is right before, it was like she was really, you know, growing leaps and bounds and really on this like high trajectory for herself. And he was kind of coasting along. It's the best that I can describe it, as like he's coasting along on her momentum. And then when she just gets tired of that and she's like, can sense that they're not equal partners with equal initiative, with the same kind of big plans, and he's not as invested or committed in the relationship as she is, and she's ready to let that go, he's usually like kind of relieved, because it's difficult for him to live up to the life she wants for herself. It's difficult for him to play at that level all the time. And you know, so there's always another woman who is happy to take care of a project man who's happy to take over that project. There's always another project manager. So it just depends on whether you're looking for a partner or a project. Project managers are easy to find. Women who will take over and try to help him live up to his potential and run his life and stuff like that, because maybe they have a thing about saving men, or maybe they have something to prove, or whatever it is. So it's that's usually what's happening there in the situation of like, oh, he moved on to someone else. It's usually not like it like that. It's usually not how it looks, where you go, oh my gosh, what did she have that I didn't have? It's usually more like, oh, she was willing to put up with a lot more stuff, and she maybe had a deeper sense of scarcity. And so, you know, or it just could be that not everybody has to play at your level. Like, he had to find the woman at his level and bless them. You know, that's great, and for them to be happy. But you were not an energetic match to each other anymore. So if that makes sense to you, please say "make sense" in the comments. You can let me know, because that's what I've seen in energy most of the time in those situations. Like if I'm connecting energetically to the woman in that situation, because often my clients come to me when they're in that situation and they're like, I'm so tired of this pattern. I'm so tired of it repeating a million times. I really want to work this out. And because I'm a dating coach and an energy healer, we look at what's going on in their love life, not just like strategy wise, but we go, what's happening in energy that's repeating this pattern over and over again? What beliefs do we literally have to heal? And sometimes it's a thing like of you're needing to rescue someone, and then you can't understand, like you're saving someone, you're rescuing someone, and then you can't understand why he didn't choose you after all that. And the thing is that, you know, usually you're not rescuing someone for an altruistic reason as much as it seems like you are. If you're rescuing someone, it's not for altruism. It's not just because you're such a great person. It's because you have a wound that you're trying to heal. You're trying to prove something to yourself. You're trying to prove that you're worthy. And, you know, so you want something from that person too. You want that person to be the proof that you are worthy. And not everybody's, that's not necessarily the plan for that person's life. And, sometimes you have to lose that person so that you know that you were meant to fly higher. You know, it's like sometimes you don't get the thing that you ask for because you didn't ask big enough. So you're kind of being protected from, you know, if you think about half the things that you've asked for, there are so many things that you can just be like, oh, I'm so glad that that didn't actually happen. But anyway, okay, so basically, that's a lot of information about how you know if you have this and what's going on with that situation and energy. So, I wanted to talk about a really important factor in this situation and why you might be doing this. Hold on one second. If you are an empath, and empaths are not the same thing as highly sensitive people. 1 in every 5 people is highly sensitive. 1 in every 20 people is an empath. All empaths are highly sensitive people, but not all highly sensitive people are empaths. Anyway, if you are an empath, and there's a little bit of a difference between what happens when you're highly sensitive and when you're an empath. If you're highly sensitive, then a lot of stimuli coming at you and other people stuff going on in other people's lives, just like the chaos and the drama of all of that really bothers you. It really upsets you to be around a lot of drama, and you might act out a lot because you're just on overload all the time. Empaths are a little bit different. Empaths don't just receive that, they receive that, and it can be totally chaotic and dramatic. But the thing about empaths that makes them particularly sensitive to the confusion breakup wound is that an empath by default will put their consciousness into the other person. Usually this happens if you have eye contact with the other person. If you're an empath and you have eye contact with somebody for 2 to 3 seconds, you will do this thing by default where you put your consciousness into them. It just goes into them. And you clear all this stuff out of their aura, all this negativity out of their aura. You bring it into your aura. And if you've never been taught how to manage that, then you just hold it. And they feel great and you feel terrible. You often will give people the benefit of the doubt far, far, far longer than they deserve because you know their intentions. You know their potential. And you know those things intimately because since you're an empath, your consciousness has been in them and knows what it is like to experience the world as them. So that's what's different between highly sensitive people and empaths, and that's also why empaths are more likely to have that confusion wound, because empaths stick around way longer than they need to be there, because instead of judging the person by his actions, which is how you should be judging him, you're judging him by his intentions, which is like information that is not admissible in court, right? I mean, like if you think about it, it's like you have this special access to that most of the population does not have, right? So, but that doesn't mean that you should give that information any special weight, but we do. So as empaths, what we do is we just go, oh my gosh, it's so sad. He's so broken. All these things happened to him. All this damage happened to him, whatever. And we skip the part that he's being an ass to us. We like give those things extra weight, or we give his intentions more weight than we give his actual actions. And the relationship is the actions between the two of you. The relationship isn't the intention. The relationship isn't the intentions you have for each other. The relationship is the actions and behaviors and what you actually do in the relationship, right? But when you're an empath, what you do is you act like his intentions are as important as his actions, and they're not. If he means to be kind to you, but he never is, that doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter that he means to be. If it's possible that he could change in the future, but he never does, it doesn't matter that he could change. It doesn't matter that he intends to change. If he has a lot of damage, but he could heal it, it doesn't matter that he could heal it if he never does, right? So what matters isn't the intention. What matters is the intention is important, but only when, it's followed by the behavior. So that's a big thing for a lot of empaths, is that we give people the benefit of the doubt beyond what their behavior or their actions would warrant. And it ends up being a difficult situation for us. We extend ourselves beyond where we would need to extend ourselves because we can sense what's going on in the other person. We can tell what's going on in the other person. We know what life is like for them. And so we feel empathy for them. We don't just care about them. We literally feel what the world is like to be them. And so we just give them so much credit for things that they've never done and may never do. And so we end up staying in relationships much, much longer than we need to be there. Exactly. Rebecca says, here, let me give you 20 second chances. Exactly. That's exactly what I'm talking about. And we can't understand, we'll see other people that are able to walk away from a relationship, and we can't understand how they're able to do that. Sometimes we'll look at them kind of with a little bit of envy and think, gosh, that must be nice to be able to do that. Or we might look at them and think, they're so heartless. She's so heartless. How can she walk away from that, or whatever it is? And it's just because we don't see the world the same way that everybody else sees the world. We're doing a different thing. So what empaths really need to do in that situation, in the situation with this confusion breakup wound, one of the things that's going to be crucial if you're an empath and you have this confusion breakup wound, one thing that is going to be crucial for you is to start to ground yourself in what your own emotions and needs are. You can learn how to take care of yourself as an empath and how to give yourself, I'm just looking for a book I have to show you that I can show you, how to give yourself that, make yourself that priority, so that it's that's nice about his intentions and whatever they are, but it doesn't matter. What matters are your intentions, your emotions, your actions, your needs, your feelings. That's what matters, because you're the only person who can put those things first. Nobody else is going to put those things first. And because of being an empath, you default to always putting other people first, because you just default to that. So the most healing thing that an empath can do for their life, for every area of their life, is to learn how to put themselves first. There is a book by Rose Rosetree that's called The Empowered Empath. You can check that out. It's a very quick and easy guide to how you can take care of yourself as an empath and put yourself first. And if you have any of these breakup wounds and you're an empath, The Empowered Empath is going to be a great place for you to start. Okay, so whether you're an empath or not, let's move on to more about this confusion breakup wound. So here's what you think that you want when you have this confusion breakup wound. You think that you want closure. That's what you think that you want. And you'll hear people say that, and it's maybe not as popular, I guess, to say closure. I would just really like some closure. I would just really like to get the answers that I wanted. I'd like to have that last conversation where he tells me why he did this thing or that thing, and where I finally get the answers that I deserve and I finally understand what happened. And the thing about closure is super overrated. You, like 99% of the time, closure does not make you happy like you think that it would make you happy. And I'm going to tell you why. There are two huge reasons why having that closure conversation would probably not make you happy. The number one reason is because he's most likely he will lie. So you're not going to actually get the information. And he might not necessarily lie because he's a bad person or something like that. There are lots of reasons that he might lie. He might lie because he's ashamed of something that he did, and he just doesn't really want to deal with that, and he's not really ready to deal with that yet. Okay? A lot of times women, because we're sort of complex and complicated emotionally, we have like all of these different things that are going on with us emotionally. Because we're complicated, we think men are complicated. They're really not. Like, you can usually trust his actions more than you can trust his words. If he says he's not ready for a relationship, he's really not. So, if you do want a relationship and he says he's not ready for one, move on. If he says he's never going to get married, believe him. If he says he's never going to want to have children, believe him. There's a lot of times when we ignore men when they say things. We ignore what they say because we think, we can fix it, or we can change his mind because he's going to see how awesome we are and then he's going to be different. And, men are really not as complicated as we try to make them out to be. They can be very damaged. Some can be very damaged, but they're usually not super complicated if we're willing to pay attention and not ignore the red flags. So here are some reasons why he will probably lie if you ever do get to have that closure conversation that you would like to have. And the thing about it that's so stupid is, here is this chance, you're thinking, oh gosh, we finally have this chance to clear the air and figure out what happened, and I'm finally going to get the answers that I need, and it's going to be so helpful, it's going to be so healing for me, and I'm finally going to be able to move on. And so chances are he's probably going to lie. He's going to lie because he's ashamed of something that he did and he doesn't want to deal with it. He might lie because he's not actually self-aware enough to understand why he did the thing that he did. So he can't really tell you because he doesn't really understand it himself. He might be, especially if you are an empath, he could be a sociopath or a narcissist and legit not care how you feel or if you heal or if you ever move on from it. Like, sociopaths and narcissists are very attracted to empaths, because empaths give them so much credit for their internal struggle and damage that they're constantly going, here, 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 take from me, and narcissists are gobbling it all up, and they're happy to gobble it up and take as much from you as you're willing to give, and you're happy to give more than the normal person who is not an empath would give. So narcissists are, they are intensely attracted to empaths because empaths overgive by default. And it takes empaths a long time to come around and stop doing that. So narcissists can kind of go from empath to empath to empath, kind of sucking you dry, and literally, like, they don't care. They don't they don't stay awake at night or thinking about how they hurt you or anything like that. They just don't. They don't have the capacity to think like that or feel like that for other people. Sociopaths don't care about the suffering of other people, period. Narcissists are a little bit different. There's a distinction between the two, but for our purposes, we'll just think of them as kind of the same. And just know that if you're an empath, you want to be very careful about the environment that you create for yourself to date in. You want to be extra selective. You want to try to date people who are networked in. So someone who knows where you have a friend in common. Have your friends hook you up. Have your married best friend's husband hook you up with some of his friends. People who know who know your friend, someone who knows someone in common with you, someone you want to date, someone who's networked in, especially if you're an empath, because that means that by the time that guy gets to you, it's not really a blind date, and he's going to come into it with a certain respect for you and kind of be on his best behavior and those kinds of things. So that's super important. Okay. So other reasons why he will probably lie. So first we said because he's probably ashamed of what he did, and doesn't want to deal with it, because he's not self-aware enough to understand why he did the things that he did, and so that's why he can't really tell you the truth about them either, because he's a sociopath or he's a narcissist and he doesn't actually care about your feelings. If he's a narcissist, he doesn't actually care about your feelings. If he's a sociopath, he doesn't care, he doesn't understand your feelings or care about your feelings. A narcissist will understand your feelings and still not care. A sociopath doesn't even understand your feelings, but also doesn't care. And the last reason that a lot of women don't realize about men, because of the way that men think, is that he probably will lie to you about why the relationship ended because he has moved on and he doesn't see the point of putting any time or energy into actually like relitigating the relationship, because in his mind it's over, and he's thinking in terms of, he's not thinking in terms of like emotionally doing the thing that's the healthiest and most satisfying. He's thinking, this is a waste of our time and energy for me and for you, because this thing is in the past and it's over. It's like trying to figure out why, like if your sweet 16 could have been better. He'd be like, well, why does that matter? It's over now. It's like kind of like how he's thinking, or like those kinds of things. It's like if he's thinking it's over, so why do we care about this? Men don't think the same way that women think about those things. We're trying to understand every single aspect of it and what happened and all of these things because we're afraid that it might happen again. He's like, well, it's over, it's done, and it doesn't matter, so why would we talk about it? So if you get the chance to have a closure conversation, or he will, okay, let's say it this way. The number one reason is that a closure conversation is not going to make you happy is because he will probably lie. And the reason he will lie is probably one of those things. He's either ashamed of something that he did, he's not self-aware enough to understand, he's a narcissist or a sociopath, or he's just like, I'm just going to lie because it doesn't matter, it was in the past, we don't need to keep revisiting this and relitigating this. Okay, so let's say he's not a liar. Okay, and let's say you get a chance to have this closure conversation. It is still not going to make you happy. And I'm going to tell you why. It's not going to make you happy because if he's not a liar and you sit down to have this closure conversation, chances are you initiated it, right? Not him. You were like, let's sit down, let's talk about these things, blah, 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 blah. And if there's something that he's not telling you, but he's like an honest, generally good person, then he's not telling you because he doesn't want to hurt your feelings, which means that the thing he's not telling you is not a happy, good thing that's going to make you feel better and give you peace of mind. It's going to be a bad thing. It's going to be like a bad judgment that he has about you. It's going to be something you did that he didn't like. It's going to be something about you as a person that you can't change. That's like a feature of your personality or something like that. And the thing about it is, just because he has a problem with that thing does not mean that there is empirically anything wrong with that thing. So let's say that he says something like, you work too much. We broke up because I thought that you worked too much and whatever it was, right? I mean, that's really stupid. You work too much. What does that even mean? It's like you're not going to change that. You're still going to work. And then it just makes you think, oh my gosh, are men are intimidated by successful women? Did I invest too much in my career and stuff like that? Am I not actually going to be able to settle down and have a family? It brings up all these new doubts for you about something that is literally just his opinion. It doesn't mean anything. So situation is the same, whether you're talking about a liar or whether you're talking about someone who tells you the truth. The closure conversation still does not bring you peace. Either you're going to get no honest information that you can act on, or you're going to get information that is honest to him but hurtful to you and just his opinion anyway, and which now gives you a new thing to obsess over. So it doesn't help with the obsessive thoughts or with any of that stuff. Hopefully this makes sense. Please let me know in the comments if this makes sense for you. A lot of this stuff I really only have the chance to go into depth with my one-on-one clients about these things. So, usually by then we've had a chance to talk for a little while and they kind of understand some of these things. So I just want to make sure that this is really clear and that I'm explaining this, that I'm giving you everything that you need in order to be able to understand why this thing with closure is such a thing. Because it is such a thing. My goodness. Okay. So, that brings us to... hold on one second. All right. So that brings us to the last point that we've got here, which is, what do you need to do to heal this? We're going to go over two different areas of healing for this. One is emotionally and spiritually. Okay, so the first thing that's going to help you with healing for this confusion wound is to understand why it happened, why the breakup happened. To give yourself the gift of understanding, finally understanding what was really happening on a deep spiritual level in that past relationship. And the most broad explanation that actually does literally and truthfully apply to everybody who's watching this is that you and your ex were both evolving along at completely different rates in completely different directions. And what happened with your breakup was not personal in the sense that it actually means that something was wrong with you. It does not mean that in any way. Even if you did things that you feel like, looking back in hindsight, were not the things that your best self would have you do, or that you would imagine your best self would do. There were necessary things for your evolution. And just know that the breakup is not about you doing something wrong or you being something wrong. The breakup was just about two people evolving in different directions. Usually, if you're the one who's trying to understand it really deeply, it means that you were evolving at a little bit of a faster clip than your ex was evolving. And, it's like your spirit won't let you go the same way as someone who's not a match to you, even if you push really hard in the physical reality. It's like if your energy's not a match anymore, it's just not going to be a match. The good news about that is that you can clear out the things in your energy that would keep you from having this person that makes you happy, having this new person come into your life. You really can do that. And you're doing that by watching this and doing the things that you need to do to heal. So one thing that helps is to really give yourself the mindset of you are evolving at a fast clip, and your ex was not evolving along the same path as you. You were not for each other anymore. And there is someone who is out there for you, and you can have that person in your life. You can have that person in your life as soon as your ex is not taking up that spot in your energy anymore. So that's a really important thing. You're here in this group watching this for a reason. Every time I am creating something new, I always put an intention out to the universe where I say, please let the women who need me find me, and let only those women find me. So that I know when you come in here that this is all for you, that I can give you everything that I have that will help you with this, and that I can just be here for you. So you're here for a reason, and you're here because you're ready to heal. You're here because you're ready to move on. You're here because you can move on, and it's possible for you. So that's the number one thing that you need to know to heal this, is that the two of you were evolving along different paths at different rates. You diverged like that, and he might still actually be here, you know, and you're kind of still going on here. So you're evolving at a very fast rate. You're going to have the life that you want to have, and this person is not a vibrational match to that life anymore. So that's why that was happening. The second thing is mentally. These are things that are going to help you heal mentally, that you can take action with. So not just a mindset or a shift in your understanding, but things that you can actually do that will be helpful for you. One is EFT, so emotional freedom technique, which is also known as tapping. Because what you need to do with these obsessive thoughts is you need a pattern interrupter. You need something to interrupt the pattern of these obsessive thoughts. And tapping is a really great way to be able to do that. I'm not going to go into like a whole video about tapping because you can actually find a lot of videos about tapping online. Brad Yates is my favorite tapping teacher. You can find hundreds of videos on his YouTube channel, hundreds of free videos. So we won't go into spending a lot of time here on those, on how to tap. But if you go to YouTube, you look up Brad Yates and you look up how to tap, Brad Yates how to tap, you can find like kind of his introductory video, and it'll talk to you about what tapping is, and then you can search through his other videos really easily to look for exactly what it is that you're trying to heal. So exactly what is the obsessive thought or the fear or whatever it is. So tapping, super helpful for that. A second thing that's super helpful for that is do your empath work. So if you are an empath, get yourself that book, The Empowered Empath, by Rose Tree, and it will really change your life. Not just in terms of getting over this breakup wound, which would be hugely valuable by itself, but also in terms of you walking around without being just an open door energetically for everyone in the whole world. It will make it so that, you know, the other thing about empaths, besides that we're very attractive for some reason to, well, we know why, but besides the fact that we're very attractive to narcissists and to sociopaths, is that people who are wounded and who are bullies can, they are, for some reason, very mean people. We're like a target for them to attack us. And so when you learn to get your empath energy kind of under control, then a lot of those things stop happening. You stop attracting the sociopaths and the narcissists and the bullies and those kinds of things. So that's another good thing. It will really help healing the breakup wound of confusion, but it will help with other areas of your life as well. A third thing that will help you is to start getting busy. Here's the thing about this breakup wound of confusion and having these obsessive thoughts. Your mind can only really think of one thing at a time, and it can't think of nothing. So if you're constantly having these thoughts about an ex and you keep just saying, stop thinking about him, stop thinking about him, stop thinking about him, your brain goes into this weird loop where it says, what was I not supposed to think about? Oh, right, that guy, my ex. Okay, so not thinking about him, not thinking about him. Wait, what was I supposed to not think about? Oh, right, my ex. And your brain just goes into this loop where it keeps you thinking about him. And you have to interrupt that pattern. And one of the best ways to do that is through EFT, which you'll learn. But another way to do that is by getting really busy and having other things going on in your life and focusing on whatever you're doing at the time. So bringing your mind back so that you can be present on what you're doing at the time. That's really important too. So that's the third thing. The fourth thing is that you can replace that thought with a healing statement so that you start to make a new law. You're speaking a new law over your life. You're creating something new from a metaphysical perspective, but you're also rewiring your brain from a cognitive perspective so that anytime it starts to have this impulse to go this way into this obsessive thought, you're replacing it with this other thought. It's kind of like, here's this negative obsessive thought, you're replacing it with a positive obsessive thought so that you're obsessing about creating this new great thing. And one of the ways that you can do that is that, say you're having this negative thought about your ex, you can replace that negative thought with the statement, I release the need to figure out other people's lives and choices. My job is not to run their lives. My job is to heal my own life. My job is not to figure him out. My job is to heal my own life. My job is to heal my own life. It's always great if you can make your healing if you need to write a new healing statement, it's always really great if you can make it positive, personal, and present. And so that means that you want to focus on the positive, so you at least want to be able to end by saying, my job is to do this. It's okay if you want to say, my job is not to figure out this. My job is to heal my own life. That's totally fine. In this particular situation, it's okay to say that. You want to make it present, so that's like you're saying my job right now, not what it was or what it will be in the future. My job right now, so that's present. And you want to make it personal, so it's about you. This is what my job is to do right now. So, the confusion breakup wound, big deal, especially if you are an empath. You're going to definitely want to start to learn how to deal with that. Making an investment in buying that book, it's like $10. It will be a foundation for you having a better life in every area of your life from now on. If you are an empath and you have never developed skill with handling your consciousness, otherwise it's going to be super draining for you. You're going to have all of these periods of time where periodically you'll just burn out completely and not want to be around people and stuff like that and just feel drained and horrible, and then it's like life is no fun. So definitely get the empath stuff under control. So for the confusion breakup wound, if you have it, your desire is to understand. You have tons and tons of obsessive thoughts. You're trying to protect yourself. Usually it happens when you don't get the closure that you want, but there are a lot of reasons why you don't get the closure that you want usually, and it is not really the thing that's going to give you the peace of mind. The peace of mind, the thing that's going to give you the peace of mind is to interrupt the pattern of the obsessive thoughts by using tools like EFT and like healing statements that speak a new law over your life. So, share with me your comments. I would love to hear from you. I want to know if the confusion wound is a big deal for you. Yesterday we talked a little bit about gaslighting when we were talking about the anger breakup wound. We talked about when somebody tells you something you know it's not true, and they're trying to make you feel like your version of reality is incorrect. That happens a lot. That can lead to the confusion wound as well in a breakup. Gaslighting is a really a deeply damaging practice because it's not just about somebody lying. What they're really trying to do is make you believe that you are not qualified to judge what is real in your life and what is not. And that's worse than somebody lying to you because they're scared or because they're covering something up, whatever it is. When it's one thing to lie to someone, it's another thing to try to impair their ability to navigate reality. That's damaging. So if that's something that happened with you in the past where someone was constantly telling you things that you knew were not true and you had to really fight and really struggle to claim what was true in your life, then definitely you are working with this confusion breakup wound here. Please let me know in the comments how you're feeling, what was the most helpful for you, and tomorrow we are going to talk about the next breakup wound, which is a big one. It's the biggest one that we got the most response back about in the community, which is the shame breakup wound. So tomorrow we're going to talk about the shame breakup wound and Secret Seduction Sorority right here. So you just come right back, same time, same bat channel, and I will see you there.